Good evening, everyone. This is Grace Cool, Director of Community Engagement with Broward County Cultural Division and Vice President of Destination Sistrunk. Thank you so very much for joining us this evening for our first episode of the Black Artist Pipeline. And the purpose of this show is to provide opportunities for Black artists and our audiences to learn more about how artistic endeavors and creativity are being developed and expressed in the United States and throughout the world. As we all know, and the statistics show, there is a dearth of opportunities for Black artists within the creative economy. And one of the key issues is being able to provide access to opportunities to meet artists, to commission their works. For the general public to experience them. So, as part of Destination Sistrunk, which is a public private partnership with Broward Cultural Division and the Greater Fort Lauderdale Convention and Visitors Bureau, we endeavor to really bring connectivity between arts, culture, heritage, creative economy, and tourism development. So, for this program, the Black Artist Pipeline is critically important, particularly within historically Black neighborhoods, as our neighborhoods are often our first stop in being able to develop our creativity, be able to have access to the various opportunities, and be able to get connected to career pathways and business pathways so that our artworks continue to flourish, that we are involved in equitable aspects of artist and creative development, as well as being able to really have Black artists and creatives on the map. So I'm very excited that we are able to bring this program to you. And our focus is on our artists from cradle to grave. So, our Meet the Artist segments look at our young emerging artists who are breaking out of high school and going into college, those who have been able to develop their own independent projects, develop resources and contacts to be able to promote the work that they're doing and share their artwork. And with so many of them expressing really truly what it means to be a Black artist in the 21st century and reflecting the legacies and learnings of our ancestors and elders who carved pathways and bared their shoulders so that we could be where we're at today. So we've got a couple of great artists that we're going to meet tonight, and I've had the pleasure of working with both of them in different capacities. Tonight, we'll be featuring Janae Joseph. an emerging filmmaker who's already had some celebrated highlights and becoming well known in the Broward County community, of which Fort Lauderdale is the county seat, as well as James Lee St. Louis, a visual artist who just out of high school got some really good commissions and artist residencies within the city of Pompano, and who also serves as an artist in residence in Destination Sistrunk, and has been working with us, share space with us. And it's just a pleasure to have the kinds of intergenerational engagement that we have. We have artists and creatives of all ages working with us through Destination Sistrunk. So it's a great opportunity to be able to introduce folks that we have really enjoyed working with, and folks that we would like you all to follow, because they're all very much on social media. I'm not, I'm old. I'm not a Facebooker, but I know that they are very social media oriented. So we definitely want them to be in a position in the future. And part of that comes through programs like this, and inviting folks like you in our online audience and in our in studio audience to be able to support these folks as they move through their careers. So, first on our map, we have Ms. Janae Joseph. Can I get a round of applause? It's kind of quiet in the house now. I think we get a little nervous when we're going online, but this is just a conversation between real people who are really trying to make changes and do some things in our communities and impact the world at large through the arts. Hello, Janae. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Are you excited?
Yes.
We've been talking about this for months and we finally did it. Are you
Yes.
getting my good side? Because I'm not sure about the lighting, but so pleased to have you here. We sent requests for our guests to provide us with their photos and bios, and our second guest sent us a 10-page statement. And but you're an enigma. And what you shared is Janae Joseph is a local filmmaker and videographer in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. She has lived in South Florida all her life, volunteering and creating films. Janae is currently studying history and international studies at Nova Southeastern University. And so I'm alum of NSU. So it was kind of always a good thing to have a future alum on our show, and being connected to them. And it's just a real pleasure to have you on board. But with you being an enigma, I have so many questions. I don't have any questions really of our second guest because he wrote it all down. But of you, tell us about what got you into filmmaking and videography.
So, ever since I was a kid, I've always wanted to make films. I would watch movies with my parents, who would go out to the movie theater almost every single week. And then I would get home, and when I was younger, I would reenact the films with my toys. It kind of started off that way, but then it developed into something more. So I would then watch the behind the scenes videos for all of the filmmaker interviews with like the directors and also the producers and the talent that's behind the work. And I started thinking, wow, this is really cool. This is really amazing. It's their life's work that they put on screen for everyone to enjoy, whether as a fine art or as something fun to do for entertainment. So that's what really pulled me into making films professionally. And I hope to have it as a career in the long run.
Well, you're definitely on that pathway. So tell us a little bit about some of the films that you have produced and or worked on or assisted other folks with from when you got started.
So I started off doing short film projects with my friends, and they were mostly comedy films. And on the side, I would also do a lot more informative projects, more geared towards like documentary filmmaking perspectives. Then in college, I would kind of bounce back and forth between the comedy films and also the more informative documentary projects as well. And it kind of culminated into my film, She Had a Dream. It's about Ela Johnson, a local civil rights activist here in Sistrunk, and just being able to show her life's work on a visual medium so that it can connect with audiences in such a way that you wouldn't normally get with reading through a pamphlet or reading a book about her. Like, you get to connect with her life through the film medium. And I think that's something that's very special about filmmaking in general.
So, so I'm assuming when you were doing your research for this film, what did you do with the research? Were you able to interview people? Did you do historical research? What was a little bit of the process for making that film?
So I started doing research for this film as an intern with History Fort Lauderdale. Curator Tara Chadwick, she's been essential in helping guiding me through this research. Tara's out in the audience right now. Hello. And with the process of collecting all the information about her, it was very difficult. We also contacted other members of the community. We secured an interview with Mr. Bobby Henry, who also hosts a show here in Sistrunk, and we were also very grateful for his help and his collaboration during this project as well. And so we paired his interview along with Eula Johnson's oral history tape. So she is able to narrate her own story. And you usually don't see that with a lot of documentaries. You have another narrator or you have the other interviewers and interviewees kind of just guiding the viewer through the story. But it was essential for me as a director to have Eula Johnson tell her own story because there were so many opportunities in the past where there were so many missed opportunities in the past where she was not able to tell her own story or control her own narrative. So crafting the film in this way allows her to tell her story and for the audience to experience it.
So we know Eula Johnson as a local civil rights leader and a local icon. What made you select her for a documentary for your piece?
She was very courageous. She was very fearless in her work that she did for her community. She was a very strong organizer and she believed in every word that she said when she led the wait-ins on Fort Lauderdale Beach. And I just found the story so fascinating because usually with civil rights history, you only hear about um, our celebrated figures in the national sphere, but you very rarely hear about your local figures and local history and how they've done the same amount of work within your own community. And I think it's essential that people learn about their own local civil rights figures because there's always a story out there, even if it's not widely advertised or you learn about it in a textbook or in the classroom. So this was the main reason why it kind of just drew me towards her story and doing more research for this project.
So it's like everything that we see in the history of Black life and culture that we've been exposed to at a national level, we can find those similar stories at home because we're all part of that pipeline, right?
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
I think the camera was over there. I got to work on the shot, but yeah. That's fantastic. So did her being a black woman and you being a black woman, did you find some synergy, connectivity? Was there anything that you learned within that some those similarities that you felt that you were getting? We have our elder giving the broader message, but then she's a black woman, you're a black woman, you have this historic trajectory. Was there anything that stood out to you that was so very well connected to your experience as well?
There's a moment in the film where Eula Johnson talks about how she had to, in quoting her herself, she had to do everything single handedly. And I think it's a common narrative associated with Black women in the community that we are strong, we're resilient, but we still need that support, whether it's from our family, it's from our community. We can't hold the entire structure on our backs. We need that help as great as we are as fearless as we are as leaders, we still need the support from our communities. And I think that's one of the pillars of the film that connected with me the most as a filmmaker, doing research for the film, hearing that testimony in her own words within the film itself. That's one of the aspects that got to me the most.
And oh wait, you brought us some thing to show,
Yes.
right? And then we're going to be able to see a little bit, but then you're going to tell us what happened next because there have been some great developments in terms of showings and competitions and things like that, right? All
Yes.
right. So let's ask our team with Arc Labs to let's give our audience a taste of this incredible documentary.
That whole week, I organized the young people, the young black people, and I strode them the next Sunday morning. I strode them for every inch of Fort Lauderdale Beach from one end to the other. And I carried 7 carloads out to the beach. And when oh my Lord, what a time. Whenever I went to the beach one 4th of July, I said to Dr. Von D. Mizell and myself and Miss I.N. Holly, they said to me, I said, how is we are going to celebrate the 4th of July? Which was I believe it was on a Sunday that day. I said, we're going to the municipal beach and we're going to swim there. Dr. Mizell and his 2 brothers to daughters and their boyfriends and I and Miss Holly went to the beach. We sit down on the beach, we grown-ups, and the girls and swim, and the boys swim, but we grown-ups didn't go in the water. We had a little portable radio with us, and what we heard on the radio, Negroes lounging on the municipal beach in Fort Lauderdale. We looked up and we saw every police in the city of Fort Lauderdale or Broward County. We looked up and we saw pools of people. We saw the ambulance come up. We saw everything that was detrimental that they thought, I guess they thought they would frighten us away. That whole week, I organized the young people, the young black people, and I strode them the next Sunday morning. I strode them for every inch of Fort Lauderdale Beach from one end to the other. And I carried 7 carloads out to the beach. And when oh my Lord, what a time.
She was not a cowardice woman. She was not fearful. As a matter of fact, she would talk trash and back it up. From what I understand and what I have heard, she didn't bite her tongue. She would hold her own when it came to conversation with men, black men as well as white men.
I want to see the whole thing. I only got a taste. Oh, it's not fair. Not fair. So how are people going to be able to see the whole thing?
So we're working on securing a screening for Black History Month, this coming Black History Month in February. And there should be more details about that coming very soon. We're waiting for more things to be finalized before we're able to send out the itinerary and more details about that.
I hope that this is going to be submitted for any of our competitions out there. It's a great piece. Is that in the cards?
Yes, we've actually sent the film into some film festivals, both local and also international. It's been accepted into the Montreal Film Festival last month.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was also accepted into a film festival in Orlando, and we've also submitted to the Fort Lauderdale International Film Festival, and we should be hearing from them within the next couple of weeks. So,
Outstanding, outstanding. So it really does sound like you've had some great support and being able to create a work, get it out there, and move it forward. Do you find that that's common for young artists, emerging artists, Black artists?
um, I am so enthralled with the level of support that I've had for this film within my community, from my friends and family, and it's not often easy to come by. So I'm fortunate to be surrounded with people within my community and also people like you, Grace. Thank you.
Oh,
And
I
just
wasn't fishing. I wasn't fishing, but thank you. Thank you very much.
and having the wonderful opportunity to screen this film in the future. I'm so grateful for the support that it's had so far.
Fantastic. And I know that one of your big supporters and resource individuals that you mentioned earlier, I think the first name was Tara and the last name was Chadwick. I think you did mention she's in the audience, right?
Yes, Tara Chadwick is in the audience right now.
And as someone who plays multiple roles in our community, from arts, culture, history, heritage, leadership, and activism. We a part of our audience this evening includes members of the Home Beautiful Park Civic Association, of which Destination Sistrunk is a member, and we host those community meetings here in the circuit at Destination Sistrunk, 1033 Northwest 6th Street, Fort Lauderdale, Suite 103, 104. But I wanted to take a moment to invite Tara up to the stage for a little chat so we can connect some dots around the Civic Association and how you were able to work with and support Janae in this magnificent project.
Thank you. Thank you, Grace, for inviting us and giving us space here in the community. Thank you, Janae, for your beautiful introduction of such an amazing cultural asset that was a pleasure to create with you this past few months. It's really been an honor and a pleasure to be able to participate collaboratively with you in co-creating this beautiful piece that, yes, you will be able to see in full soon.
Thanks.
So,
Pins and needles. I can't wait to see it. Tell us how the partnership came to be.
well, History Fort Lauderdale, along with a lot of cultural and arts institutions, participates in recruiting interns through NSU Museum and a number of others, but particularly, we were interested in NSU just because it's close by. They have, great programs, and they're really good at facilitating that relationship to try to build with the students. And so really, honestly, for 6 years, we've been trying to get NSU students to come and intern with us, and Janae's the first one.
Congratulations. Yay.
But it was an investment well worth it. It was well
Mhm.
worth the wait. So, and once Janae indicated that she was interested in interning, really her interest, we ask, for our internship, we tailor at History Fort Lauderdale, we tailor the internship according to the interests of each student. And so Janae's interest was in education and also in film. And so especially during the pandemic, we've been putting a lot of attention at trying to improve the quality of our online catalog, basically. And so, whereas normally, we rely on trying to get people to come to the museum, whether it's students, parents, teachers, community, tourists. We're always relying on trying to get people to the museum. But now we've had to shift and pivot like everybody and give people that option of being able to learn the same things or similar things that they would at the museum, but even expanding what they would be able to use at the museum. And so now we've got like an online tour and a 360 something that you can look at the museum as a dollhouse. And now we have this amazing new resource that hasn't been released yet because we want Janae to be able to have the opportunity to get in some film festivals, and a lot of them have rules that require a premier status within a certain geography. So we wanted to respect that and really support her in her future endeavors, which include film school and hopefully creating a lot of additional amazing cultural artistic assets that support our community.
This is outstanding. And also, while I have you up here, before we bring James Lee up, can you tell us a bit more about the Home Park Beautiful Civic
Yes, I'm up here
Association?
wearing like 18 hats, I feel like. Home Beautiful Park Civic Association is one of the 80 something recognized neighborhoods within the city of Fort Lauderdale. And while our geographic footprint is small, it falls right within this area. So it's Sistrunk to Sunrise from Powerline to 12th. And within this neighborhood, it is a very significant part of the Sistrunk corridor because um, it's one of the oldest parts of the neighborhood. And so, we're working really hard to build capacity, to build partnerships, to build on, the history of the activism and the love of community really that exists within this neighborhood. And so, for me, this was, participating in creating She Had a Dream was also a gift to the community as well, because we want to honor all of the grandmothers, including Miss Maria who came today and the work that they do to support the future. Really, it's all about supporting the future at this
And
time.
Eula Johnson's house and gas station, right, are across
Across
the
the
street
street.
from Destination Sistrunk. So it's really great that, it's all these various ways where the strands come full circle.
Yeah.
Excellent. And we're looking forward to doing more because art and community engagement is connected. Tara is well known throughout Broward County for her work. And it's just all these wonderful ways where we're able to connect and move everyone forward through the arts. So I want to thank you, Tara, for coming up. Janae, I'm going
Thank
to
you so
ask you to
much.
stay. Tara, I know I'm going to
Thank
have
you.
you. I'm going to have you on this program again. I know that. I greatly appreciate everything that you are doing, and you've been involved with Destination Sistrunk since it was, since it was a baby many years ago, and
So yeah, thank you
so
so
thank you
much.
so
Keep up the
much.
good work.
We
Thank you.
appreciate you. All right. Thanks, Janae. Um, so excited. Oh, hey. So we need to know, would you please let our audience know how they can follow you?
I am on Instagram occasionally at my name is Janae. It's spelled well, my handle is actually J, then Janay, followed by another J on Instagram.
And any other Twitter?
Not really.
Not really.
Mm.
So mostly Instagram. As you'll be moving forward, you'll have a social media agent who can make sure all your stuff gets up there while you're out in the field creating all that wonderful goodness, right?
I'll try.
Okay.
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for spending time with us, and thank you for staying with us while we have our next piece of wonderfulness coming to the table. This young artist I've had the pleasure of engaging with throughout his residency here at the Destination Sistrunk Welcome Center. And I got a phone call one day from a colleague who is a cultural administrator in the city of Pompano. And an artist that she worked with was finishing his residency and was looking for more opportunities. And I am truly happy that I got the phone call. And I'm truly happy that it all worked out, even though we still cleaning up paint in all sorts of wonderful areas. But this young man is an incredible person. James Lee, St. Louis, please come up on the stage. Everyone, please give him a round of applause. We've commissioned James Lee as he's a visual artist, a painter, and so much more, multidisciplinary, multimedia. We've commissioned you to create a portrait of our dearly departed Elsie Hastings, which we'll be revealing. You've had your residencies. You are known online for your incredible fashion sense. You also are going to be leaving us shortly, and I am so sad. I honestly, everyone, I'm really sad, but I'm very excited that you've been accepted to and will be leaving for the Rhode Island School of Design, which is just really class A, top notch art school. And oh, thank you. Yes, yes, please applaud. Yes, yes. You're also a graduate of Dillard Center for the Arts, which is Broward County's magnet high school, Dillard Center for the Arts, right? Known for essentially Ellington, major talent coming through in all the various disciplines between dance and music and visual art. And we've worked with Dillard Center for the Arts for quite some time. And that's why the Black Artist Pipeline piece is important, because Dillard Center for the Arts is in the Destination Sistrunk area. It is a historic school, and we have one of their graduating students from this location moving onward and upward. And hopefully, he'll come back and spend time with the little people, because I'm keeping some of your artwork, man. I'm keeping some of your work. So we're going to hold that hostage for you to come back. James Lee, welcome to the Black Artist Pipeline. You are incredible. I love your work. What did you, Janae had early experiences with the arts that just, and I know for me, it was like I was on stage when I was 7. I was like, oh, I want to do this. And then my mother was like, you're never going to make money. So I got a job in government arts. And it seems like both of you have just really gotten an incredible amount of support. I love you, Mom. This is no bad, you, Mom. Um, you all have gotten some really great support, and Janae shared how she did. So what about you, James Lee? How did you come to be where you're at right now?
Well, first and foremost, thank you for that very warm, thoughtful, and how do I say, precise opening. I feel like I just listened to my entire life story. But well, first and foremost, I've always been interested in art, mostly out of necessity, because there wasn't really much else to do. Imagine growing up with 3 other siblings, you stuck in a house with nothing but, what I'm saying, nothing else but to interact with one another and find time, like find ways to, spend your time basically. So, from a very young age, I've just been interested in art. I've been drawing, and I go through like packs of printer paper, like the 200 pack, the jumbo size, not the
500.
yeah, the 500 pack. I'd go
Wide or narrow ruled?
wide.
Yeah.
I'd go through them, you know what I'm saying? So I'd just spend my days drawing. Got to a point where like my parents, they couldn't keep up. They're like, you're gonna have to find a way to pay for the paper, because you're going through a 500 pack of jumbo paper a day. It's like we can't keep spending 20, 30 some odd dollars on printer paper for you. But I've just been doing this for quite some time, and then one thing led to another, and then eventually, as my interest in the art grew, and as my passion grew, and as the support from not only the individuals within school but my family continued to, allow me to flourish. I've just been doing it. So I'm very thankful for all of these opportunities. I'm thankful to be here, and I'm thankful to, I guess, be making a way. Cause Lord knows my peoples are scared. They was trying to figure out how I'm gonna make money. We still trying to figure it out though. We gonna figure it out. But I'm just happy to be able to do this and find an avenue to essentially be creating something that I enjoy, but also, you know, being funneled into programs that allow me that luxury to explore different avenues and like to just find myself and find my artistic vision, my artistic voice as well.
So, what are some of the themes that are integral to your work?
Blackness. I'm black all day, every day, in my sleep, wide awake. I don't remember who made the quote, but very profound statement says, "All I gotta ever do is stay black and die." And I think that permeates all of my work in every aspect because a lot of what I do is just centering my experience and those of the individuals around me, and like highlighting those individuals as well, and essentially just trying to immortalize a moment, a time, a person, an experience into four corners and onto a cotton canvas. So that's essentially what my work is about, and just a lot of it just stems from like just wanting to venerate individuals that I've grown up around, and like the individuals who've impacted me greatly, and like my friends, the homies, my loved ones.
So, I just want to take a moment. I have this list of topics and questions, and I just want to give a shout out to my assistant Shireen Mullins for putting this great list of questions together. I wish I had an hour for each of you because I'm like, oh, I should ask this. No. Um, so shout out to Shireen. Thanks, Shireen, for everything that you do to make this happen. We love you. Um, you talked about influences? You talked about your friends, your loved ones, within the history, within art history. Um, which artists influenced you the most?
Well, I have to start off by saying I personally would not be painting if it was not for the amazing, the wonderful Kahinde Wiley. I saw his documentary An Economy of Grace in 2017, and you know, I suppose there's like this thing like when you know, and like I knew in that moment that like what I wanted to do and what I felt most passionate about in that moment was painting, and so I quite literally locked myself inside my bedroom and spent a summer learning how to paint. And I'm here now, so I guess something worked. But that's definitely my biggest influence in regards to painting and in regards to paying the black subject, definitely Kehinde Wiley. But further beyond him and his amazing work, there's the Jacob Lawrences, the Kerry James Marshalls, the Riley Holloways, great friend of mine, Toyino Giaditola, Charles Henry Cordier. I don't know how to say his name, but that's a French sculptor. There's also the Barkley Hendricks. There's I forget this. There's Maliko Mogosi. There's so many different names, and all of them are all black individuals. Nijdeka Aquinili Crosby. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right, but there's so many different names that inspire me even now. And, a lot of it just comes from like these individuals doing similar work and just creating work about their own personal lives, but also in addition to that, the lives of like community and black people as well. And, highlighting those experiences. And so I take a lot of a lot of influence from those individuals. And
How
so
how were you exposed to these artists?
research, art
So
history
you
don't
had to
tell
do
you.
research on your own to discover these artists. It wasn't, and these were folks that were you put on that path of discovery while you were in school, or was it just through your own research?
Well, to keep it a buck with you, very clear. Black folk do not exist in art history, and I don't say that to be dismissive. I don't say that to be belittling, but I say that to be, earnest and honest. It's like we quite literally get maybe a page out of the 300 some odd pages that be in the textbook. So a lot of it had to do with just my own personal research and interest. And all of these individuals that I'm mentioning, for the exception of two, are still alive. You see what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
black history in the art sense is a very new and, I guess up and coming wave, if you want to call it that. But we've been here. It's just that we haven't necessarily been, how do I say, we haven't necessarily been recorded. And I think that's the most important. It's like when you when your work wasn't necessarily preserved, then the future generation doesn't have access to it. And so those individuals that I'm influenced by now, their work is preserved, and I can see it in the present. I can go to a museum, I can go to a gallery, and expect to see one of, if not more, of these individuals within that space as well. So you know a lot of that just had to do with my own personal research and interest, and like making sure that I had influences that looked like me to look up to, and take example of, because they're alive, still doing the work, and are making very successful, fruitful, and sustainable careers out of this. And so I'm very happy to say that my interest and a lot of my influences came out of my own passion and interest.
Thank you. This is a well of information and things to think about that came out of what you just said. Thank you. And on that note of influences, we get to see some of your work too. Huh?
Right, right.
Are we ready? I'm starting to tap dance. There's a drum set in the back of the studio. We could do a drum roll. All right. So this first piece is called The Boy with the Jade Ring, oil paint on canvas, 40 by 48 by 2, done in 2020. Little black boy on this white wall. I question if they ever really see you at all. Oftentimes in art, we overlook the people who barely get a chapter in our history books. So I immortalize your silhouette on this cotton canvas in hopes that if you ever need to remembered, and it's not with a mugshot or a picture of Black Death, but a beautiful black boy full of life and breath. Tell it, how did you come to this piece?
So that's the homie. That's the big homie, Jalen. That's my best friend, my brother. That's family. Um, he's someone I look up to. We look up to each other, and he's another artist. But when I was making this piece, I was just thinking about creating a candid image of a young black man, because at the time when I was making it, a lot of what was going on was, the George Floyds and the protests and all these different things, and I do my best not to highlight those scenarios, because I feel like it's exhausting to constantly be thinking about that. But that was a big catalyst as to why I made this piece. And the poem, it came to me months later, actually, while sitting in the studio thinking and looking at the piece and just processing all of the things I had been feeling at the time and all of the things that I had wanted to encapsulate within my pieces. And this was kind of like me honoring those moments while also doing it in a way that doesn't necessarily center trauma or traumatic experiences, but highlights joy, life, existing, and just the essence of an individual without necessarily thinking far, without necessarily, I guess, prophesizing one's own mortality. Like, I understand that we're all mortal beings, but at the same time, we're wanting to highlight the present moment, and that this body, this individual exists, and they are here to exist and be more than just a moment. And they're full of experiences and full of joy and full of so many other things. And so I wanted to highlight in this piece in particular, and then referencing how, especially within the art canon, black boys, black people were not highlighted or venerated in this way, or taking the time to really, be valued as individuals of admiration, of beauty, of, essentially art. And so that's why I was thinking through all of those things. And I specifically noted that I wanted to immortalize his silhouette on this cotton canvas, because I was also thinking about, the act of like painting as a way of commemorating like this individual, you know what I mean? Because there's this piece of art that'll live far beyond my lifetime, their lifetime, the lifetime of the individual within the piece. And just thinking about how, if they were to ever be remembered, how would I want them to be remembered? And not necessarily in a traumatic sense, but in a sense where someone's life is valued and their time here is as well.
Excellent, excellent. Nick, do we have how many? We have like 5 year pieces that we're going to be looking at. Okay. Where the ocean and sky meet, 2020. As my mind wanders off to a place of luxury, I am reminded of the time I saw this beauty at sea. She was standing oceanside as she wept. Even to this day, I wonder if those tears were of joy or of sadness she was too coy to express. Though you may have never known me, I think daily of the women who stood where the ocean and sky meet.
A lot of typos, a lot of typos. But
I was trying to do the dramatic,
I know. But this piece in particular, I was just thinking through this idea of emotional vulnerability and how could that be expressed through art. And as you can see, like each of these poems are like essentially it's strange. I'm essentially like going through my own feelings
Mm-hmm.
through the poetry, but also going through, processing the thoughts of the individuals with them as well, because all of the individuals, like I said, are people I know personally. We've had conversations and there was
Mm-hmm.
interviews done prior to the pieces. But this
Mm-hmm.
piece in particular, I was just thinking about mental health and like mental well-being, and how we oftentimes as individuals experience things and go through things on our own, and the individuals around us are essentially from the outside looking in.
Mm-hmm.
And so in this piece, I wanted the backdrop to seem kind of like flowery, abundant, relaxing, all tropical in a sense. But I wanted the poem to kind of juxtapose that and, have you question, like, you see this individual, but you don't necessarily know what's going on farther beyond, what you see, and trying to process how we as individuals have to, essentially go through this life alone, while also trying to make sure that we're okay, and knowing that the individuals around us may not necessarily always know how to best comfort us or comfort our feelings. And so that's, something that I was processing while making that piece.
All right. Next. And here we have Overgrown from 2020. Ensnared in my own thoughts. I question if these feelings will soon consume me. I'm scared that these emotions will quickly entangle me. I fear that those who see me will soon forget me. I worry about my life and what I want to be my legacy.
This is a favorite of mine. I feel like this one is the most personal to me, to me, but or second most personal to me. The next one is the most personal, but again, like what I was going through was a lot of questioning about mental health, mental well being, and like juxtaposing that with the Black body, and you know how we as Black individuals don't necessarily always have the time or the space to process our shortcomings, process our traumas, or process our feelings in the ways that we necessarily need to. And so this piece was me processing my own feelings of like, how would I say this? Processing essentially my own feelings of like running out of time.
Hmm.
It's strange to say that because I'm only 19, but when you're so constantly confronted with the reality of your mortality, you oftentimes have to question that and question, if you are running out of time, and how so quickly your life can just be snuffed away from you. And so this was one of those pieces, just thinking about how the mere thought of my mortality was like, running rampant in my head, and like causing anxiety, and all of these different differing emotions, and how I would handle that, and how I would process that.
It doesn't end, man. Just get used to it. It just kind of like fast forwards and it's something like the older you get. So it's good that you can get a handle on that now. So let's go to your next piece.
Yeah, this one's a lot.
Okay. All right. So we have this one, and then we have one more piece after this.
No, this is the last one.
Is this the last one?
Yeah, this is the last one.
Okay. Because I have a couple of questions that I kind of want to close out with, but I want you two to be able to respond to them both while you're on stage. So awesome. All right. So this is Wavy.
Wavy. The title is Wavy.
All right. Vibrant, bright, and bold. This pink do rag I wear is a declaration. Matter of fact, it is my opposition. This pink I wear is how I'm showcasing my resistance. I was taught that black boys can't feel. I was taught that black boys can't heal. However, I am proclaiming that this idea of masculinity ain't real. I am more than just strong. I am more than just vicious. Better yet, I am a black boy who is ambitious. Okay, sorry. I just gotta do that on that line. That's a great line. Daring to be more than just masculine. In fact, I dare to be feminine because from women I learned that all black boys can be wavy. That's sweet. That is very sweet. That is very sweet.
So this was the first one that I made, and this was kind of like the catalyst for creating art and poetry. Because as you can see, all of the pieces were essentially me just having to process what I was going through at the time. And this piece in particular is me processing like this idea of like toxic masculinity and how to push against that. And yeah, it's like it's just me processing how I feel about myself, and like, all of the things I've been taught about, like what it means to be a black boy, like what does it mean to be a black man, and growing into an individual that I want to be, but also how I'm perceived by society. And so I oftentimes think to this idea that damned if you do, damned if you don't, you know what I mean? Because
Mm-hmm.
it's like on one end of the spectrum, regardless of whether I'm, however I'm perceived, like there will be individuals who see me as vicious, aggressive, um, over the top, extra, whatever you want to call it. But on the other end of the spectrum, there will be individuals who see me as not masculine enough. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of like this double-edged sword where it's like no matter what you do or what you don't do, there will always be a perception of you that doesn't necessarily reflect you as an individual. And so within this piece, I was just processing how I felt about my own perception as a black boy, and like my own understanding of what it means to be truly masculine. And I've come to the realization that like this idea of like masculinity, femininity doesn't necessarily have to be one dimensional in either sense of the word, and that all of it is about what do you want to define it as. And so that's what that piece was about, and that's how I came to terms with that questioning and that uncertainty at the time.
Thank you. So, yeah, given what we're seeing and hearing right now, I can't wait to let's see, in 20 years I'll be like 60. I should know you by that time. I can't wait to see how your depth unfolds, and the evolution of your poetry and the stories that you have to tell as you expand in your experience. Thank you so much. Again, I'm so sad you're kind of leaving us, but not leaving us to go to RISD.
I'll be back next summer.
Yeah, you said you do we'll be able to get you online too, and then maybe Janae might be in Sweden at some festival or something like that. We have to call y'all back in. As long as you remember, come home and sit on the porch. Uh, and
I'm
it's just really it's a privilege to be in the seat with y'all and be able to share who you are and your talent, providing a platform for that. And that's the purpose of the Black Artist Pipeline, because in all y'all's comments, y'all just validated why we need to be doing this type of stuff, formalized moving forward, so that we have a clear path and pipeline, right? So in our last couple minutes, how much time do we have? We have 5 minutes. About 5 minutes. All right. So I think like one of the key question, one of the things I want to put out, and I know folks are, there's been dialogue around this out in the art field. Um, do you find the categorization as a Black artist liberating or othering? Does the distinction exist to you, and is this distinction important to you? I should have called Shireen up to answer this question. And do we have any questions from the audience? No, people are just soaking it in. That's fantastic. So, what do you think about the notion of being called a Black artist?
I'm gonna let Janae answer this first.
Okay.
I was gonna say the same thing too, but hmm, I'd say it depends because, well, as a black artist, If you're labeled as such, it's mainly when you're presenting your art outside of the community. Um, so I would feel that it is kind of othering in a way, but it also in some other way to look at it. As a Black artist, you're highlighting Black art, something that's not really put in the spotlight in the first place or has famously been excluded from history, as James Lee mentioned earlier. There are also a lot of Black filmmakers that feel that in the industry that is Hollywood, when they're called a Black filmmaker, it is othering because they would be recommended for certain projects that mainly speculate on Black struggle instead of Black joy. So I would say it would depend on the situation, really.
I'd have to agree with that. I'd say that it's a double-edged blade, like most things when it comes to being a black person. But for me, I feel that in any sense of the word, being black is so profoundly liberating. And that sounds like kind of contradictory because of like the history of what it means or meant to be black. But I think that now in the 21st century, as black individuals and as black people within the community are finding our voices and are finding, our stride, if you will, within the world, I feel, very liberated to be able to be a part of a community of people there's that, has been able to achieve, aspire, receive, and you know bear the fruit of so much success despite. And I think, and something about that is so profoundly inspirational to me. But to that same effect, I also feel that in certain spaces, to be black is, it it leaves a negative connotation, not necessarily because of who we are as individuals, but rather because of the perception that we have while not being within the room. And so I think about how within so many institutions that this notion of you know being a black artist is a title that we have been given and not necessarily been able to define for ourselves. And so I think about how so much of whiteness is the standard, and when you are a black individual entering within these spaces, you are the anomaly. You are rubbing against, you are the opposition. And so, because of that, I feel as though we as individuals, although so much of our success is tied to our resiliency, I also recognize that our resiliency has had to come at a toll for, a large part of the history that we have existed in the institutions that we are trying to enter, dismantle, and reimagine aren't always so forgiving, favorable, or kind to us, or kind to the labels that they have been given or have been given to us.
So I think what both of you said, I'm pulling from your 50-page artist statement.
It ain't that long.
It's 100
She
pages.
playing.
It's 100 pages.
It ain't that long yet.
But what you were sharing, it just speaks to the complicated grounds on which our stories exist, right? And then Black culture, Black joy, Black moments, and at times Black trauma, whatever our stories may be, they matter, we matter, and Black lives matter.
I stand by that.
All right. Yeah. So this is Grace Cool. I want to say thank you. Thank you very much to Janae Joseph and James Lee St. Louis for being the first guests on the inaugural episode of the Black Artist Pipeline, brought to you by Broward Cultural Division, Destination Sistrunk, and Visit Lauderdale. We appreciate all of you joining us tonight, and we hope to see you again for episode 2. Have a wonderful evening and be well. Good night.